811, 911, where is your emergency?
Hi. Let's stay there.
Where are you at?
No, it's Wagner?
Okay, what's going on?
I don't even know.
You don't know what's going on?
Is he breathing? Oh my God. My husband's friend is dead.
Okay, is that your husband?
My husband's freaking out, yes. His best friend. My daughter. Elizabeth, get outside.
Ma'am.
She's on the floor. There's blood everywhere. Oh my God, he has his gun got blood in the back of his head. He's just so low.
What is your name?
My name is Sherry Kenny.
Sherry. You don't see a gun?
No, I don't see a gun.
Okay. Listen, I need you and your husband to back out of the residence and wait outside for the officers. Do you hear me?
On May 10th, 2017, officers were called to the home of Brad McGarry for a suspected suicide. David Kinney, longtime friend of Brad, and his daughter Elizabeth arrived early in the morning to return a borrowed weed whacker. When Brad didn't answer the garage door, David sent his daughter to knock on the front door. There was still no answer. Elizabeth's father then sent her to go knock on the back door, following closely behind her. The pair found that the back door was open, leading to a ransacked kitchen. Upon further investigation into the home, David and his wife found the body of Brad McGarry lying face down on the garage floor in a pool of his own blood. Panic-stricken, Cherie calls 911 dispatchers, but little did she know, the murderer themselves would arrive at the crime scene.
I can't believe that.
How long you got for lunch?
8, 9 years.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
My kids call him Uncle. He's supposed to go to the Bahamas with us in August.
Your best buds, I think.
Yeah, he's one of my best friends.
He met him at coal mining classes years ago, and we just took him in and his family.
I'm trying not to freak out. I'm sorry. I can't not stop seeing that. I'm not supposed to see that, man.
You go from the beginning. How you come about coming out here?
That right there is the weed eater, is the whole plant.
Okay. You bringing the weed eater?
Yes, sir. We come to the basement door and knocked, because my daughter knocked on the front door. I told her, I said, sis, go knock on the back door. She went up and knocked on the back door doors. I went up right behind her. I noticed that the kitchen was scattered. There was stuff all over the place. I told my wife, I said,
They stayed with him. I got an issue with him.
he's the last relationship he was in. It was pulled off, and he hasn't been with anybody ever since.
Who was the girl?
No, it was
the guy.
He was in with the guy?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, who was the guy?
He,
Scott
Scotty-
something.
oh, man.
Is there any bad blood there for nothing?
I think just the regular relationship, bickering and arguing.
Yeah, you told us about him a couple times.
Brad McGarry was an openly gay man living in a small conservative neighborhood in Bel Air, Ohio. David and Cherie tell the officers that he had just recently ended a relationship with a mysterious man named Scotty, but they were unable to remember his last name. Officers entered McGarry's home only to find that someone had ransacked through his belongings, trashing the home. Upon further investigation, officers were led to believe that nothing was taken. Several newer phones were found lying around the home, a large television, and even loose money on the floor. This led officers to believe that the robbery was staged. The officers initially believed that McGarry had shot and killed himself, but when the Belmont County coroner arrived at the scene, it became clear that this was an act of foul play. When the coroner began taking a look at the body, it was apparent that a gunshot wound was the cause of death. The coroner began asking if a firearm had been found, to which the officers replied no. Oftentimes, when a person commits suicide with a firearm, they fall over top of it. When the officers and coroner rolled McGarry's body, however, there was no firearm to be found. The death of Brad McGarry wasn't by cause of suicide. It was murder.
I don't see a firearm.
No, I didn't either. They flipped him over, they didn't see a gun. And that's the case, it wasn't no suicide.
He's a rigger. Who found him?
People outside.
David Kenny.
Detectives began interviewing friends and family of McGarry immediately. They needed to create a timeline of events and find out as much information as possible. During one of the interviews, detectives were able to find out the full name of Brad's ex, Scott Butler. Immediately, detectives travel to Scotty's address where his mother opens the door. She tells them that Scotty has been away in jail for the past 3 months for violating his probation. Since Scotty had a solid alibi, detectives turned to searching the neighborhood for their next suspect. One of Brad's neighbors had a security camera pointed towards the street near the residence. The angle of the camera would allow the detectives to see who exactly came and left Brad's house. While the footage was being reviewed, other investigators continued on with the interviews and collected evidence from David's phone. During the questioning of one of Brad's cousins, the investigators learned some troubling information.
Sunday, we went to Grammy's. We were sitting around the table. It was just me and Brad and Heather, which is another cousin of mine. And he made a comment how this DJ guy, he was coming over. Brad's intent was it was romantic. He made a joke about taking a nap. And it wasn't taking a nap. He was insinuating that they were having sex. It was like quotation marks.
This was Sunday.
This was Sunday.
The day he was killed.
Yes.
What time did he leave?
Between 1:30 and 2.
Really?
Yes, he was
That's
supposed
the first I heard of that.
He was dropping all the tuxes off. I also know that he was married. They've been
Who
married.
told you that?
Brad did.
Brad told you?
Yeah. She, being the wife, didn't know all this time. They've been doing this for years. From what I understand, the two of them, Brad and DJ, kind of, I don't know if they laid low or they completely broke up. I guess they call him DJ or David Kenny.
Really?
Yes, it's the only guy.
I knew that.
Because it's the only guy he's ever told me about. It's the guy. That's him.
The guy.
That's him.
CCTV footage from Brad's neighbor shows David driving his wife's car to Brad's home at the time of his murder. David was there for approximately 40 minutes before he was seen driving off. Several hours later, David is seen driving his own vehicle with his family back to Brad's home, where they then find the body.
Where were you Sunday afternoon?
I told my wife, I said, okay, well, we'll run this weed eater down here. My daughter went with us because she hasn't got to see the puppies yet, so she was all excited about seeing the puppies.
You got your phone on you?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Detective Cruz. David Kenny.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I told you at the house there, not to delete that stuff.
Yes, sir, I got it all right here.
This is the guy that's going to take care of all that for you.
Okay.
And this is just standard paperwork here. But since it's your phone, it's your personal property, we gotta get your consent.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, give me a couple minutes and I'll buzz right through this.
Yes, sir.
I'll get back to you as quick as we can.
David had given the detectives his phone number under the guise that they were making copies of screenshots and text messages that might help them find Brad's killer. However, the investigators were tracking David's phone to see where he was the day of the murder.
David, there's some stuff on your phone that's a little questionable.
Yes, sir.
How close were you and Brad?
Very close.
How close were you guys?
We're very close.
Fine, great.
My best friend.
Did you guys have sex together?
There's a few times in the past where, he's attempted a lot. We've kind of fooled around a little bit in the past.
It's okay. Hey, look.
I'm being
What year is it? Well, this is
2017.
This is between us, okay?
Yes, sir. I'm like, doesn't know.
What doesn't know?
No, sir. My wife would be devastated. This is something that she has to do.
Not right now.
David had several deleted files on his phone that investigators found while tracing his previous GPS locations. The officer conducting Kinney's interrogation confronted him about the sexual nature of his and Brad's relationship. David confirmed that there was something a little more going on between the two. Unfortunately for David, between the CCTV footage and GPS tracking, investigators had everything they needed to pin the murder on him.
Where's your phone putting you at Brad's house the time he got killed? It's past 3.
I was not there when Brad was killed.
You were at his house.
Yes, sir.
I'm the murderer. You were
Oh,
there.
God.
You know exactly when he was killed.
Yes, sir, I know.
You were there when he was killed.
No, sir, I was not at his house when that man was murdered. Sir, I can't.
This is the kind of shit that gets people in trouble.
Oh, my God, I know.
We're gonna lose everything. Lose your wife, lose your kids. Look at me. This don't have to be the end of your life. A chance to come clean and tell me the relationship. Look at me. Look at me. We're past it. It's okay. We'll do this together. Tell me what happened.
He sure will. He had another guy with him. I don't know who he was. I don't know his name. I'm swearing on everything. Holy right now.
What happened next?
He went in the garage.
It's okay. David, look at me in the eye, bud. Tell me, what happened next?
He was so scared. You heard the gunshot? The guy came running out of the garage. He got into Brad's BMW. And then I left.
There's a couple things you need to know. Brad's front seat in the Beamer was full of stuff that he brought from Hawaii.
Yes, sir.
He didn't have a passenger.
Sir, that guy went back into the BMW.
The officer interrogating David has been on the job for years and has questioned dozens of suspects in that time. You often learn a trick or two when you've been in the same field of work so long. It's clear to the officer that just by reading David's body language, he is lying. Suspects that fabricate a lie often subconsciously try to hide their faces, especially when sitting across from police officers. Officers also know that David's vehicle was still in Brad's driveway during the time of his murder and didn't leave for some time. If this story is true, it begs the question, why didn't David call the police?
He knew what I looked like. My vehicle was there. I did not know what to do.
What kind of gun was it?
I have no clue.
Why did you call the cops? Why did you do this elaborate story? Why did you put your own daughter in that basement with that body? You did that.
Yes, sir.
And you knew he was down there. So, damn it, quit screwing your family.
Sir,
Tell me what happened.
I did not kill him.
You knew Brad was dead, and you brought your
I
daughter?
did not know he was dead.
The officer knows he has to switch tactics if he's going to get the truth. David is panicked and crying, so in order to calm him down and perhaps make him a bit more comfortable opening up, the officer creates a fake theory of his own. The officer knows David will probably lie again, but he also knows that the truth is getting closer.
I'll tell you something. Sometimes when bad shit happens, people panic. Okay? I got a theory. I think it might have been an accident. I think that maybe somebody was around and accidentally shot him. I panicked. Didn't think anybody believed him. Was it an accident? Am I right? Drop all this shit and just let it out. Brad deserves it. Brad's family deserves it. Your wife deserves it. Your kids deserve it.
Brad didn't want me to leave my wife for a while. I love my wife and kids to death.
You love Brad too?
I did.
And sometimes you think about leaving your wife for him? Okay, come to
told him numerous times, man, I'm not gonna leave my wife. Hit me and smacked me around a couple times. He said, if you end all of this now, then I'm done with you forever. He got real loud with me. You know, kind of like up in my face. He had those little derringers.
cross the line, man. Stop. Look at me. Let it go. Tell me what happened next.
He had it in his hand. Just kind of like waving it at me, you know what I mean?
Okay.
Telling me, you know, you're up, I'm tired of you, I can't believe you my emotions this long just to call it quits. He kept waving it at me, so I grabbed it.
Okay. What happened after you grabbed it?
I pushed him.
Okay. And what happened?
I saw.
David admits to shooting Brad, but how does the officer know he's telling the truth this time? Of all the different stories David has spun, when he told this one, he wasn't crying or covering his face. It's hard to know when a suspect is lying or telling the truth, but after spending time with David, the officer comes to learn his body language very well. But once more, David is caught in another lie.
Let's stand up. So, I'm Brad. Where am I? Which way am I facing? I'm facing over here. Okay? So we're arguing.
Yeah, he actually kind of just come in and was like this, you know, slapping me around.
Did you get hurt at all?
No, sir.
So he pulls this derringer from where?
A hot tub there. He picked up the derringer and then he come at me and he just kept waving
He's
it.
waving it.
Yes, sir.
What am I saying? I'm Brad. What am I saying?
You're a piece of shit.
Piece of shit. I can't believe you did this to me.
Keep stringing me on.
He's stringing me along, and
emotional.
he's waving the gun, then what happens? Do I fall down?
No, sir.
I stumble?
Just kind of stumbled.
Okay, then what?
He come at me.
Come at you? Show me where. Show me where you shot me. Show me where.
On top of the head right there.
Top of the head?
Yes, sir.
I want to ask you this. You shot him once, he's dead on the ground. Why'd you shoot him again?
It just happened.
Okay.
It just happened. I
Be honest.
felt threatened, man. I really did.
Okay, here's my problem. And my problem's with rudimentary laws of physics. Okay? He's coming at you, you shot him. Okay, but the bullet's going this way.
After the officer questions David's logic and story, he stops talking and begins asking for a lawyer. In spite of confessing that he did in fact shoot Brad, David will later plead not guilty in court. Investigators arrested David Kinney for the murder of Brad McGarry. While in jail awaiting his trial, David fabricated a different story to tell detectives in hopes of possibly seeing freedom once again.
Eventually, his last story to us was that there was some type of altercation between the two of them Sunday afternoon that involved an allegation of money being taken by him. In other words, the deceased was alleging that Mr. Kinney had taken money, and there was some type of discussion, argument with regard to some sexual relationship that these two guys had for what appears to be an extended period of time. According to Mr. Kinney, the deceased tapped him with that gun. He took that to mean that he was in fear for his life, grabbed the gun. His story to us was that he shot him once, he fell to the floor, and he shot him again as he laid on the floor in the back of the head.
Kinney's lawyer attempted to have the bond set to $100,000 on the basis that he was an outstanding community member and had 3 children who needed him. The judge, however, overruled the request and set the bond to be at $1 million. The state of Ohio petitioned for the judge Frank Frisano to sentence David Kinney to life in prison without the possibility of parole. David's defense counsel argued that he could one day be a productive and lawful citizen later in life. While David never truly came forward about what happened between him and Brad, he issues a public apology while in court. By the end of the 8-day jury trial, David Kinney found himself being convicted of aggravated murder with a gun specification. Judge Frisano sentenced David to serve life in prison, plus 3 years after the jury found him guilty for the murder of Brad McGarry.